Hello, this is Peg with Craft Room Stories. Welcome to my channel. Guys, I finished it. I finally finished it. My 1950s inspired journal. Can you see this? Let me stand up and see if you can see this. She's got a little tulle in her dress. Look at that. And we've got a little button clustered thing on the spine, flower thing. And this is the back. All right, we've got a little beaded fringe on this. And I'll make sure I'm trying to stay in the frame. So I'm going over here because I'm going to be flipping it open. Okay, now I would like to say that this is a 1950s inspired journal. There are many things from the 1950s original ephemera that's been used in this. However, not everything is from there. Some stuff's reproductions. I'll try to say, what it is, but also some of it I don't actually know what year it's from, and so it just looked old and vintage. Some of it not. So we'll see. This is definitely a vintage, from a vintage magazine that I got from Cheryl with Journal Cottage, and I laminated her. I did a video where I showed that I did this. And then this is also a vintage hanky. I do not know the year that this is from. It's got some staining on it. That doesn't bother me. That just kind of lends itself to me still of, the vintage nature of it. Not all vintage things are pristine, sadly. Okay, so we open it up, and the first thing we have is a frame, and inside is a picture from a genuine vintage sheet music from the 1950s. And it wasn't the song Only You, but I also did this frame using the sheet music Only You, also from the 1950s. And this has a postcard in it. I do not know what year this is from because it doesn't say. It's got a barcode, so I'm guessing not the 50s. I seriously doubt if they had barcodes back then, but I don't actually know. But she looked kind of like she had a 50s hairstyle a little bit to me. So whether she does or not, I don't know. It could have been 60s, but I just liked it and thought it looked good with it. So here we go. Now, this is from a 1950s Look magazine. I'll tell you most things I got from a 1950s magazine called Look magazine. And a 1950s yearbook from a college, a university yearbook. It's not a high school yearbook. And another small magazine and a small book from the 1950s, and then 1950s sheet music predominantly. So if you have a question about something that I used, feel free. The papers, I just tried to go with colors that I thought might have been in the 50s. So first off, we have a tag with I have decided to follow Jesus, and behind that, the sheet music, I believe, is a George Beverly Shea song from the 1950s. And then we've got a picture of one of the glasses, I don't know. And this is on a vintage, what are these things called? Flashcard, that's the word. Ooh, I just went blank for a minute. And this lace is vintage, but again, I don't know what year it's from. I just know that it is vintage. And so, but this lace is not, nor is this. This is one of the buildings at the university. This is a Morton Salt ad. This is probably, her hair looks like it's more 1960s, but I don't care. I just thought it was cute. It was in that magazine, so maybe, I don't know. Or was it in something? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But anyway, we have some Ledger. We have Ella Fitzgerald. just a little, there's lots of little lace clusters and things, little clusters on the pages where you could have plain for journaling. I've coffee dyed a lot of things. This is from the yearbook, and this is just a little, just a thing to write in. And we've got an altered paperclip there. Look, we've got Doris Day with a little cluster. There's a little blurb about Doris Day a little bit later, but I should have put it with her, but I needed something small to go in the spot I put it. Then we have an ad for like shoes and gloves and things. It's got some writing here that you can read that. Some mulberry paper. Here we've got a spread with a vintage car. I cut this and then put part of it on one side and part on the other. And then I put him and a little piece of map, little cluster. This is from the yearbook. You can see from one side, and then it had plain for journaling on that side. These I made on a video embossing tinfoil. And then we have, this is a passage from the Bible, but this was in a book, some religious book, a little tiny book from the 1950s. The copyright is, and it looks like it's from there. And then here we've got a genuine Western Union telegram page. I don't know how old this is, but it didn't look very old. It looked kind of brand new, so I coffee dyed it. And why not? And then here we have this little pocket with a policy closure. Open it up. We've got a tiny little tag in there. And I just thought that was cute. And I'm trying to do things back up as I go, but I may end up not doing that so that this video is not like an hour long. There's several sheets of this paper from the yearbook, so I won't say every time that that's what that is. This is an altered postcard that I altered with women's stickers that look like they're wearing the 1950s stickers, and a little bird, and a little tuck spot made from the yearbook. And this is a spread from the Look magazine, an ad about this nightgown. And this says just a few of our many famous brands from this yearbook. And I just thought that was cool, and it could be written on the back. And this rock and roll waltz sheet music was from what she was on the front of. And then this is a soda label that came from Cheryl with a Journal Cottage, and that is, I believe, genuine vintage, and I just laminated it. And then I showed you guys this previously where I just colored part of their outfits, like sometimes they've done with older pictures, and I just thought that was cool. Little lace cluster, Western Electric, another one of these. It's a tuck spot. I don't have anything in that. Also from the Bible, from the love chapter in 1 Corinthians 13, and a hidden paper clip. And this lovely lady was on a commercial. She was doing an ad in the Look magazine for Imodium, which I thought was hysterical. But she was so pretty. I took away the Imodium and just left her. And then I colored her as well with that embossing glaze. And then this was the Miss Wittenberger of the university. And I just made a little journaling card out of her. This is an ad about Bell Telephone from the magazine. And then this is from the yearbook, encouraging young women to work for the telephone company, which I thought was funny. Another little ad, some mulberry paper, and then these are cards from somebody's kit. I don't remember, but I laminated them and used them as pockets, and that's where it's talking about Doris Day. And then this is just a little generic tag In fact, I did not ink the back, and I usually do that, but sometimes, oh, just flicking stuff out. Sometimes when I do stuff on just plain white, I ink it so that it looks, you know, a little bit more vintage. So let's put that back in there. And we've got some fun, this is a fabric kind of strip that is a sheer kind of Georgette or something like that. And then we have some funnies from the magazine. Got a little label here. And then this is also from the magazine. It's funny. And that flips out, and it has some writing spot, some more of the grid paper stuff. And then French's mustard. This is an ad. Funny. And then here is a little pocket. I've made it a little pocket, and I just put a little bow on one of those. I just thought that was kind of cute. Very simple, but cute. Okay, so we put them back in there, and this unties. And this is an older couple, obviously. And inside, we've got younger from the yearbook, The Wonder of It All. That's the George Beverly Shea song I was trying to think of. Anyway, I just figured they met in college, and then they've been married for a really long time. I'm not going to tie that up right now, which I thought that was kind of cute. This is the first signature. Second signature, we have Only You again in the background, and this is the copyright from that, 1954 and 55. This is a little matchbook kind of flippy pad. And another one of these little things. And this is the little ad in the Look magazine of how you can order your own Look magazines. This is a die cut of a little 1950s looking dress, and I just put some lace on that. Ad from the yearbook. Little lace cluster. More of that ledger paper. I said grid paper while ago, not ledger. Little pocket made from one of their dances, so I put some ruffles and stuff on there. This is an actual vintage postcard that I bought at a thrift store. This is 1955, and it's got some writing on it, which I think is really cool. And of course it's purple, so I was hoarding it for a while, but you know, sometimes you gotta use it. This is one of those cigarette card clusters, and I'm using that as a tuck spot. Again, I backed this lady from the yearbook onto Only You. And another one of the foil, embossed foil pockets, and this one's just got from another, this was another magazine. It was actually back from San Francisco from the 1950s, which I thought was cool. I found it at a thrift store. I think I found it at a thrift store. If you sent it to me and I'm wrong, forgive me. Another ad. And then here we've got the Butterick pattern with these ladies, and I just thought it was funny to put this in here that showed the bust and the size. And then we've got another little journal card from the dance, and this is just a little flippy pad. Oops. And another funny. We've got some little buttons on here in the pastel colors that I'm using, which I think is fun. This is just several of the ladies who were in the yearbook, and I just thought they were really pretty. They were laid out in the yearbook in a kind of diagonal, so I've just kind of cut off part of them. Two other ladies that were on here that had weird, I'll show them in a minute. But anyway, I just thought that could be used as journaling. And I put a little washi tape from my Isabel in Germany in there. This is some vintage lace. That is not a vintage ribbon going through that lace. So this is the pocket, the center spread that I made using the pockets that were on the vintage apron that Cheryl sent me. And I've got just some pictures from the yearbook. And then I've got a little flippy pad, and on the front of it, we've got a little window to that lady worked at the college, and I just thought she was so pretty. And so we just got a little flippy pad. We've got some different things in there, music and stuff. And then we've got a pretty little tag with another couple. Perfection. So cute. And then we've got an ad for some shoes. This was the store, Dimels or Dimels. And just another little tag made from the, why can I not come up with the names of these? Sorry, a little bit of glue on there. Flashcard. Sorry. I just saw a little blob of glue. And she was in the yearbook, and some more from Only You, that song. And they just slip in there. And this random little flower is because I didn't realize that this was so pokey and this was such fragile paper that it would start to poke through. So we just put a flower there to reinforce it, and it was happening here too. You can see the little dent on a little wax seal. So I put these ladies, they were from that other strip that I just showed you, and I just put the flower trim in between them to help reinforce that. Little lace tab there, and another cigarette card cluster. And this is an ad from one of those smaller magazines, and I just thought that was fun to slip in here. And another ad, and a little flip up here, some hidden writing space, and a wax seal. And then this was, and another little funny little, you know what, that was meant to be a journal card. I'm going to leave this sticking out because I forgot to back it. I don't know what's wrong with me. Well, you know what, actually you could still write on that. It's plain enough, I think. I'll just leave that. But anyway, this was from an apron pattern. I laminated that. Another little dress in another building. This was the chapel, I believe, or church at the university. And then some more of that paper. This was from that apron pattern. And an ad for Fab. And a fun little tiny flip, lace flip there. I showed this already, I believe. It was made from some sheet music and the strip of people, and actually how you can save 10 cents with Fab. 10 cents was probably a big deal back then. This is also a postcard from the 1950s that's been written on. I can't see what the postmark is, but you can see that it's 1950 something. And then the McGuire sisters, and then inside here I put a whole big page from the Look magazine. I did not want to break this up. It was an ad for South Pacific, which I thought was super cool, and I just left that in place. And then you can read things on the other side, which I thought would also be fun for whoever receives this. And inside I've got some silk fabric with some vintage lace there. And there we have my 1950s inspired journal. Thank you for watching and for joining me today. Hugs. Bye.